Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here once again. It is time for a back and bicep day. So I started off with pull-ups, and yes, for the record, I only gained 1 pound from the holiday feast. And actually I've decided from today forward, I'm going to go lower carb. I actually ate fairly low carbs on Tuesday before the feasting, walked into the feasting fasted, and I've realized, I want the waistline to tighten up more. Also, again, going to streamline my training a bit. I may stick with the 6-day for a while, but I think at this point, most of my muscle groups do not need to exceed 12 sets in a workout, right? 12 sets has always been a sweet spot, but you know, what can I do? I can isolate arms and stuff for 12 sets. So I think that's literally what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to come and do 12 sets of curls and then 12 sets for triceps. At the end of stuff. And then like shoulders, I'm going to probably do 12 sets of delts twice a week for now. And if I ever cut it back to once, I can do more because delts are more complicated, right? There's a lot of not overlap between the heads. But I feel like I've always made really good gains. So it's just a matter of keeping it there, keeping my body parts split. I'm also going to focus a little less on reps. Some exercises and movements will get some really high reps, but I think at this point, I like a lot of work. You know, even in that 5 to 8, 6 to 8 rep range. I mean, we can get some 10s and stuff, but today everything was 6 to 8, right? I picked weights that I knew 8 reps are going to really push the limit on. But all my lat stuff was 6 or 7. So the pull-ups with a 45, I got 6, 6, and then 7. Got great lat activation. Same thing here with these rows, right? These are these heavy, slightly cheaty rows. I can get 6 reps with this, and again, I get a really good mind-muscle connection here, and I'm strapping up for this to get that. So kind of the thing I point out with the rows like this, I have a great mind-muscle connection with my back in general, and it's one of those things where some people don't always like how I do light exercises, but as I would point out, yet my back grows and grows and grows and grows. I'm really good at finding the forms to where I just get a lot of lat activation on everything I do. So the same thing even with these rows, it's about that stretch and then using that little bit of stretch, just a little bit of hip drive to bring that up. And I get a great activation to my whole back. I'm overall pretty happy with it, just like the way I do my pull-ups. It's all about the stretch. And again, I'm doing pull-ups for the purposes of building my lats. I don't care about building purposes for winning a pull-up contest in that case. So I'm not trying to go further than where my lats stop contracting. Once the scapula pinch together, I'm good while keeping my chest up and feet back. So again, it works great. I get a phenomenal pump and cramp in my lats. They get a good stretch and then they grow. So it's kind of one of those things where a lot of times people don't like what I do. I don't care. Back better than me. And again, there's a point where we have to look at that and go, one, you don't have any evidence scientifically that I would get better back gains doing something different. So set that aside. Two, my back gets jacked easy. I get a great mind muscle connection with it. So who cares? Like, you guys need to have a better back than me before you criticize the way I train my back. I've been doing back stuff a long time. All right, so barbell rows. Did that, then I go over to the seal rows. Seal rows, I went heavier. I'm like, I bet I'm stronger on these. Because again, it's all about mechanical overload, right? It is about progressive overload, increasing that tension. And I'm like, I bet you I can get 6s with 225. Sure enough, I did. Now, seal rows, I like these because again, we cheat on the other. This takes us stricter, right? We get strict, and we get in and again, just get that stretch at the bottom, bring it up, try to pinch it at the top, right? Through pretty much my full range of motion, and everything's good. And I think people need to keep that in mind. Look at the size of my back. Once my scapula pinched together, I'm done. All right, dumbbell rows. I don't normally go this heavy, but I'm like, you know what? Same idea. Let me grab a weight I know I can do about 6 or 7 with. Didn't take them to failure. As long as we're within a rep or 2 of failure on all this, we're good. That's all I care about. That's all I care about. I don't think any of this for me needs to go there. As long as we're real close, we have progressive overload, we get proper volume, we take the exercises through the ranges of motion that I want, we're good. I think also here, you can tell I'm getting reasonably jacked, continuing to get reasonably lean. Everything's leaning out slowly but surely, and this is with my holiday bloat. So I think as we continue to do all this, we continue to make sure recovery is good. bring the carbs down so everything tightens up. I think everything's going to look a lot better. Again, but we want to keep focusing on arms and delts. My delts are going to get a higher priority. I feel like for me with the arm stuff, if I just keep training them hard, stuff's going to be good. But I need the carbs down to tighten that waistline up. Like realistically, even the brown rice and stuff just makes me hold extra water in the loose skin and love handle area and everything else. And I just need to keep tightening it up. And I do fine on the lower carbs. And again, as long as I'm not trying to do crazy high reps and volumes, I'm good. But the thing is, I was doing crazy high reps and volumes on it. But now it's like everything's coming around. If I just focus on recovery, focus on lots and lots of lifting, 6 days a week of lifting, I'm not going to really worry about cardio now. Just focus on optimizing this. And I still walk and do other stuff, but I'm not out doing the GPP. All right, curls. All right, same thing here. Same thing you guys notice, kind of that love handle flank area needs to tighten back up, and it will. I've noticed it tightens up once the carbs come down. But the curls went really good here. I did these super strict, got 8 reps. All my curls were 8 reps today, right? I picked weights that I knew were going to be really challenging for 8 rep, maybe 1 rep left in reserve. So again, it's what we did here. Went with 85, tried to keep these strict, right? Trying to keep these strict. So curls, I'm going to try to do relatively strict. We're going to try to take stuff through long ranges of motion. I'm going to go to my lockout at the bottom, bring them up towards the face so that we get all those functions of the bicep. But again, barbell curls. Again, focus on progressive overload with good form. Now, like I said, because all the curls are more or less isolation stuff, we're going to be a little stricter on the form. Some of the rowing, I can be a little loose. It's okay, like the barbell rows. But for the most part, we want it nice and strict. Focus on really hammering the biceps. But again, I can look at this and go, should this be more than enough bicep training? Yeah, I think the 12 good sets, because all that other stuff counts. If we're going to stand here and claim that weighted pull-ups and rows don't work the biceps at all, we're being ridiculous. They count. So we do that, and then it's like them come in and hit 12 really high-quality sets for biceps, working all the angles with some progressive overload. Again, it should bring them up, because at this point, honestly, I don't even think my biceps are what make my arms not look big enough. It's my arm lengths, probably just my triceps. So let's just keep training just the biceps correctly. The triceps are going to need more work, but we're going to try to continue to do the same thing with that. But all of my chest exercises hit triceps, right? All of them do. So it's kind of the same approach. Like, well, don't even bother to do flies. Just do everything that's pressing, pullover, stuff like that. We'll talk about that more on chest and tricep day, kind of like you saw this week. My chest and triceps were crushed, like they were cramping. My triceps started cramping again, even deadlifting the next day. So again, this back and bicep work, again, we come in and focus on obviously the biceps do get hit on all the back, but then we come in and make sure. And it's like, I'm not even trying to chase a bunch of reps. Let's just get quality progressive overload, get good tension on the biceps. So the same thing, dumbbell curls. We start in a hammer position so that we work that function, supinate the wrist up towards the face. So whereas in with the barbell, we're forced into a strictly pronated, this is a very different, with the same idea, still working those same full range of motion. But again, starting in that hammer position, so we work this other function of the bicep, bring it all the way up to the face. All 3 functions get worked. All right. Then I decided, look, so that I'm not exhausted on the incline curls, and use the same dumbbells and see if I can actually get 8s with this. And I did. I was surprised. So I grabbed these same dumbbells, and I'm like, let's do incline curls. See if we can actually get 8s. They were hard. But again, we go into that stretch position, working a very different angle. It's total opposite angle of the shoulder angle from the preacher curl, right? Because look at the shoulder, it's way back behind the torso. On the preacher curl, it's in front. So we do these 2 lengthened position exercises, but we take them through a full range of motion. I'm not really doing them as a partial. And people forget that. They're like, well, why aren't you doing full range of motion on the other stuff? Because I am, for the lats, right? For the lats, that is full range of motion on the pull-ups. And that's what people are not getting when I bring that up. They're not understanding a full range of motion of an exercise is not full range of motion of a muscle. Okay? In that case, because of my positioning and angles, it is. And that's why my lats grow really well from it. They've gotten massive from it. So the same thing with all these. We're taking the biceps to the full range of motion. Now you could technically, I mean, a curl, what would be the full range of motion on a curl? I mean, would technically be to rotate it all the way up behind your head with a dumbbell, right? Could you physically do it? Yes. So that should be the full range of motion, right? No. Just working the bicep. And the bicep, full flexion of the elbow, and then 30% extension of the shoulder joint forward would be full range of motion. Like for the standing stuff, obviously these are more isolated. So the incline curl, I'm just working that joint. So then the preacher curl, we work the opposite end, right? Now we're set at that other point, that 30 degrees extension in front of the shoulder, which we're normally doing that through a movement with the barbell and the dumbbell for the standing stuff. So here we're just locked into that position. So again, managed to squeeze out 8 reps. I didn't think I was going to get it on all of them. The last set, I had to grind and grind on that 8th rep. I almost didn't get it, but I managed to squeeze through, so that was literally 0 in reserve. But on these two, because the last rep is challenging, I bring it down a little slower and then it sticks at the bottom. So technically all 3 of these sets were to failure because they got to the bottom and it just stuck. So the preacher curls were all to failure. Most of the stuff was about 1 rep in reserve. So again, 12 really high quality sets focusing on just progressive tension on the biceps. I think that will get the job done. Keeping in mind muscle protein synthesis will get re-stimulated on shoulder day on all these muscles, the pressing and pulling involved. So really happy with today's workout. I skipped the banded stuff. I'm like, I don't even feel like I need it right now. It's not necessary. Let's just optimize. Let's just look at what is going to give me really, really, really good training responses that I can recover from for the biceps. And this is a lot because the 12 sets for lats counts as some bicep work, right? Even if we counted it as half sets, this is 18 high quality sets, okay? That's a good spot. That's a really good sweet spot. And we can't come in and be hitting 25 sets for every muscle. I think for me, it's going to be mostly something like delts. So happy with today's workout. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.